welcome back to Theatrical Interviews with Gerard. Today we have special guest Austin Phillips, who had a great deal in working with UMF's last production of The Last of the Boys. So we've got some great questions to ask today, so let's get right to it. Let's see here. Okay, Austin, what did you think of the production here at UMF of The Last of the Boys?
Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for having me on the show there, Gerard. I've been a pretty big fan for a long time now, so it's really a great honor. I saw the production, and it was it really blew me away. It was unlike anything else I had seen at UMF prior. Just a very different vibe and a feel to it, and just really great performances by Jagger Trowan and Nathan Sylvester, just really top notch. And the set was beautiful, the lights, everything. It was just a really good performance.
For sure. Okay, moving on. Okay, let's see here. Austin, could you please describe some of the design elements used with the production?
Well, the design phase was it was an interesting one. As you know, I had a big hand in the building of the set and some of the design elements too during the early stages. Now, it's really important when you're making a production that everybody's got to work together. It's got to be a relationship between the designer and the director. Okay, no matter what the designer thinks, it's a no-go if the director thinks otherwise, and vice versa. So that relationship there's got to be really strong. So there was a lot of ups and downs trying to figure out, what to do. We knew we had to have a trailer. We knew it had to be kind of like this industrial kind of, ex-camper site kind of thing, So those ideas kind of started the research process, and, Stan Spilecki, the tech director, and myself, we looked through a lot of examples online of that sort of vibe and feel, for colors and styles and shapes, that sort of thing. Because, the set's one thing, but the costuming and lighting as well need to complement it. So these are all factors we had to keep in mind. But some of the great design elements I loved was just the usage of scene paint involved. Really heavily used in this set, especially on the trailer, and you almost couldn't even notice, but with the fencing as well, we had to have the wood be aged and have dirt and grime on it. So it was really involved with the detail aspect of it, and that's something that didn't really come out till the very end, because when building the set, and the whole production, those are the final touches. But like I said, everything I got to kind of see this progress as it went over. As time went on, and it's just really interesting to see some of the initial concept ideas and how they changed through time. For example, like moving some of the props around during rehearsals. Peter Simmel had found it kind of bothersome for some of these props to, they were like in the way kind of thing. And, so these were last-minute changes that had to happen, and they don't seem like very big on the large scale, but they really are, because it affects everything else. It affects the placement, it affects the lights, it affects the blocking, the staging, everything. So really just small details really created The Last of the Boys, and every other production like it.
Okay, now, Austin, I understand that it says here that you did actually take part in some of the rehearsals, taking notes and watching. Could you please tell us what you learned?
So basically, I sat in on a few rehearsals, but it was very beneficial to see them, because I saw them from really early stages to very later stages, and I got to see the progression of it. The early rehearsals, what I noticed was how important it was for the actors to be off script. You really can't get too much done when they're on script. They're basically still cold reading to an extent, and because of that, their mind is not focused on the blocking, the stage direction, or even just the tonality of the character at that time. So you really can't start to hone or shape the performance until they're completely off script. That was one of the big things I noticed. But as it progressed and they got better and better, the director was able to implement more acting elements and staging and blocking, that sort of thing. And that's when the production really starts to take shape, and you can see it starting to come to life. And really, just the things I noticed too. I noticed there were times that actors were absent from rehearsals, and really how much that hurt the rest of the rehearsal. It didn't seem like a big thing, even if it was a small part, but you have to stop the entire flow of the rehearsal to cater towards that missing person and fill it in with something. And that, killing that flow can really set the actors back and make them lose their place and have to start back from square one. So you're really getting nowhere when you're missing actors or things aren't, lining up the way they should be. Excuse me, but the later rehearsals were really quite good. You got to see the actors really starting to, shape up and evolve into their actual characters for the play. That was really interesting to see because, when you first see it, you never think this is going to evolve into something greater, but it really does. And, that was really special to see. And then, from there, it's really important to remember the blocking and the staging. I mean, there were several times, that I noticed, like, the lead, like Jagger Trowant would, he'd be like, there's an end scene, as you know, where he has to iron an American flag at the end, his father's flag that he was buried with over his coffin, And that iron, it seems like a small task, but there would be plenty of times that Jagger Trowant would take the iron, plug it in, and immediately start ironing. Now, in the real world, an iron takes 5 minutes or so to really get up to temp. So small details like that really needed to be worked out and worked through. And I noticed there was a really clever thing that Peter Simmel implemented was he would have Jagger Trowant plug in the iron and then take the flag out of the suitcase. And that would give an allotted amount of time for the iron to heat up. So bypassing that whole problem to begin with. And I thought that was really kind of just neat to see these little twitches, not twitches, excuse me, but like tweaks that they would do to the play to really just help it be concrete. These are the things that most people don't see, but, building the set and watching the performances and watching the rehearsals, these were things I noticed that helped make the production what it was.
This has been really great, Austin, really great. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but we're all dying to know, what did you gather from everything you saw and learned and did? Could you please tell us a little bit about the evolution of a production, if you will?
Yeah. Kind of sort of what I was talking about last question.
Yeah, I guess so.
But, seeing it all come together, being involved with this as much as I am, and in most every other production I'm, very heavily involved with all the plays, doing the sets and that thing, That says my UMF Red Carpet Award 2013, excellence in stage design and that sort of thing. So I've got a pretty good history with seeing how these things evolve, but this time was different, being able to see the performance element as well. Normally, I'm just stuck with seeing the designs and the actual construction of the sets and the lights and the sound. And not that that's not a big part of it, because it is, but the biggest part is the actual production itself with the actors telling the story. I mean, that's what it's all about. But so the evolution that I saw was just how, I thought that maybe that the relationship between the director and the designer were kind of done after the initial concept was conceived, and it kind of took off from there. What I really noticed was how in-depth this relationship was between the designer and the director throughout the entire thing. I mean, up until the day of the show. The director would find that an actor would respond better doing something this or something that, and want to change a stage direction or a blocking element, and this would need to be relayed to the designer, because we'd almost have to go back to brainstorming ideas about the set and how to better fit that change. So that was really cool to see the evolution of that partnership between them, and starting from just basic ideas to really fine-tuning it, with like set detail, painting, and lighting, and everything, It even comes down to, which way the door swings open on the trailer, It's very involved. But from the performance side of it, getting to see it from the beginning, and when they first got their lines, the actors, and kind of cold reads, and seeing how they started to fall into character a bit more. Jagger Trout. This was a big role for him, and it was definitely something that was probably new to him, being a Vietnam War vet. I don't think he's ever done that, and so I got to see that kind of progression of him falling into that character, and becoming, doing more and more research on it, of the Vietnam era, and just personalities of people, experiencing, PTSD, the things like that. Just all these little influences that helped create this character. And just seeing how the actors worked together during rehearsals and would help each other evolve, bouncing ideas off each other and things like that. It was really interesting to see that that evolution of the whole production. And, and everything seems like it's everywhere on the map. You have lighting, sound, costuming, actors, music. I mean, that sound and music was a big part of this. I mean, we essentially were playing a soundtrack of that time era to kind of better set the mood. I mean, this was already almost an environmental play, with the audience being so close and so involved with the characters, but having this music, again, really just helped tie in that, that period of time and really get the audience in that mindset, which was very important, because without it, the whole idea would be lost, And, but yeah, like I was saying, all the pieces are kind of scattered around, but, for the production, I look at it like a circle, and almost like a bullseye, and the final production's in the middle. And the process of putting on that production only works if all these things on the outside circle move in towards that center goal. And even if there's one thing out of place, the whole production won't go over well. Costuming works off lighting and color palettes used by the designer, and vice versa. Sound needs to be leveled at a point where it's not distracting, but it enhances it. The set needs to be, it doesn't need to be pretty involved, but this one, it really was detailed, but it can't detract from the performance. But, there were several elements that were necessary. We needed a refrigerator, we needed a trailer, we needed a, a locker. So these were some things we couldn't really get around. So this was pretty involved for as simple of a show that it was. And then on top of that, the characters and the actors, it needs to be a single thing. They need to be thinking in this, the way the character would be thinking to make it a believable performance. And, I think they did that really well. But all in all, it was just a really, really great experience. Getting to see this progression and evolution of a production and seeing everything that kind of went into it, things that you wouldn't normally get a chance to see. I think it was really special that I got to see all that happen. It just helps me better appreciate productions and how much work is actually involved. So yeah.
Really great stuff, Austin. And thanks so much again for being part of the show.
Thanks for having me, Gerard.
Well, folks, that's all we have time for today. So until next time, I'm Gerard, and this has been Theatrical Interviews. Until next time.